Hi Whovians, Harry here, and one of the biggest things to ever happen in Doctor Who is of course the bi-generation, which happened in the Giggle, and that is when the 14th Doctor kind of split apart and the 15th Doctor kind of came out of him, and the reason that a bi-generation happened was so that the 14th Doctor could kind of go through therapy, live a happy life with Donna Noble, and then through that, living a happy life, he could let go of the baggage of his past lives and then regenerate into the 15th Doctor, and the 15th Doctor becoming a more happy person without the baggage of his past lives. However, something was set up in Doctor Who that could have rocked the Doctor to his core, something that could have brought out his darkest desires and his dark side of his personality. However, it was never paid off. Or was it? Well, that is what this video is going to go into. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a like and comment down below. And let's get in to the video. So, of course, talking about the Doctor's darkest nature, I am, of course, talking about the Valeyard. Now, if you don't know who the Valeyard is, he first appeared in the series Trial of a Time Lord, where he was trying to convict the 6th Doctor and sentence him basically to death. In exchange, he was working with the Tremmis Master to get the rest of the regenerations of the 6th Doctor, because he was revealed to be in his last regeneration. However, it is also revealed in that episode that the Valeyard is the Doctor. He is described actually by the Tremmis Master as,
"There is some evil in all of us, Doctor, even you. The Valeyard is an amalgamation of the darker sides of your nature, somewhere between your 12th and final incarnation."
So, obviously, it was going to be pointed out that this would be the Doctor's final incarnation, or when the Doctor regenerated into his final incarnation, the Valeyard would also be created. Now, what does that remind you of? Sounds a little bit like bi-generation, right? However, it can't be the bi-generation that we saw in the Giggle, because Ncuti is definitely not anything like the Valeyard. And also, in the novelization and other write-ups of this episode, the Tremmis Master actually describes the Valeyard differently. He says instead of between your 12th and final incarnation, he reveals that the Valeyard is between your 12th and 13th incarnation when he's talking to the Doctor. But we've seen that, right? We've seen the 12th and 13th Doctor. We've seen them come and go. Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, they definitely aren't the Valeyard. Neither of them are the Valeyard. Yes, 12 is kind of a more hardened Doctor, and he questions throughout, especially his first series, whether he is a good man. However, he is definitely not the Valeyard, and he proves that he is a good man. However, remember, the 12th and the 13th Doctor aren't actually the 12th and 13th Doctor. And what I mean by that is, in the episode The Time of the Doctor, the 11th Doctor explained to Clara that he is actually the 13th Doctor, and because we learnt in Day of the Doctor there was a secret incarnation between the 8th and 9th Doctor that fought in the Time War, being the War Doctor, and he was the one that kind of ended the Time War. And he also goes on to explain that the 10th Doctor actually regenerated into the 10th Doctor because he had vanity issues at the time. And of course we saw this regeneration in the episode The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. And by saying this, he reveals that both of these regenerations actually counted into the Doctor's regeneration cycle. So the 11th Doctor is actually the 13th and final incarnation of the Doctor. However, of course, in that episode, the Doctor gets a new lease of life and can carry on living and regenerating, and the Valeyard might pop up at some point in the future. However, if a novelisation is led to believe the Valeyard had to happen between the 12th and 13th incarnation. However, something happens in the TV show that might hint at that we already have seen the Valeyard, and that, of course, is the 10th Doctor's regeneration into the 10th Doctor that we saw in the episode The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. And that is the fact that we get the metacrisis Doctor, who is literally between the 12th and 13th incarnation of the Doctor. He is not the 10th Doctor, he is not the 11th Doctor, or he is not the 12th Doctor, or the 13th Doctor. He is literally in between those incarnations. We can't get any more on the wording of that than the metacrisis Doctor. So is the metacrisis Doctor the Valeyard? Well, it lines up. He is literally between the 12th and 13th incarnation of the Doctor. And also, the original plan of the Stolen Earth and Journey's End was revealed that the metacrisis Doctor was supposed to be an antagonist, and he was supposed to go to the Shadow Proclamation and start a war with them against the Daleks. And it was supposed to be this massive war, sort of like the Time War point 2. And it was going to be something that the 10th Doctor would have to stop. He would have to avert a second last great Time War. It is literally hinted at in the episode that the metacrisis has this dark nature in him, with 10 explaining to Rose that the metacrisis Doctor was born in battle, full of blood and anguish and war and revenge, and that if they hadn't stopped him, he could have done so much than just commit genocide against the Daleks. And if the original plan was to go ahead, he would have been even worse, and he would have been a real dark incarnation of the Doctor. And what is the dark incarnation of the Doctor? The Valeyard. And of course, with the metacrisis Doctor having David Tennant's face, or the 10th Doctor's face, or the 14th Doctor's face, will this come back? Will the metacrisis Doctor come back? Because of course, the face that is resting and going through therapy is, of course, David Tennant's face, being the 14th Doctor. So, will we come back to David Tennant's 14th Doctor? Will Ncuti have to stop the David Tennant's Doctor from basically becoming the Valeyard? Because the metacrisis Doctor is still in play, and the 14th Doctor also is still in play. And for Ncuti to be a carefree Doctor, 14 has to go through a significant period of change and become more light-hearted and carefree. But that is just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below if you think the metacrisis Doctor is the Valeyard, and since David Tennant's Doctor is the one resting and going through therapy, do you think this will come back in Ncuti's new era? And also, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, also subscribe and share it out, and I will see you in the next one.